Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Yang terhormat, Wakil Rektor Bidang Perencanaan, Kerjasama dan Sistem Informasi Universitas Jember, Profesor Bambang Kuswandi, MSc, PhD. Yang kami hormati, Ketua Pusat Studi Gender Universitas Jember, Ketua Acara Konferensi Internasional Gender and Feminism 2025, Keynote Speaker, Dr. Anda Haji Arifatul Khairi Fauzi, MSI. Para narasumber, Profesor Saskia Wieringa, Dr. Asyirah Abdul Rahim, Profesor Robyn Alders, Dr. Abdhesh Kumar Gangwar, para undangan, segenap panitia, dan seluruh peserta konferensi yang berada di platform Zoom yang berbahagia.
The Honorable Vice Rector for Planning, Cooperations and Information System, Universitas Jember, Profesor Bambang Kuswandi, MSc, PhD, the Director of Pusat Studi Gender Universitas Jember, the Chairperson of Second International Conference of Gender and Feminism, the Keynote Speaker, Dr. Anda Hajah Arifatul Khair Fauzi, MSI, invited speakers, presenters, and also invited guests, Profesor Saskia Wieringa, Profesor Robyn Alders, Dr. Abdhesh Kumar Gangwar, and all of the happy conference participants.
Kami ucapkan selamat datang dan bergabung pada hari ini, Sabtu 27 September 2025, dalam acara The Second International Conference of Gender and Feminism 2025 yang diselenggarakan oleh Pusat Studi Gender Universitas Jember secara daring. Hadirin yang kami hormati, puji dan syukur marilah kita panjatkan kehadirat Tuhan Yang Maha Esa. Atas berkat rahmat-Nya, kita dapat berjumpa pada acara The Second International Conference of Gender and Feminism 2025 dengan tema Contemporary Gender Challenges and Feminist Perspectives through Interdisciplinary Engagement.
Welcome to the Second International Conference on Gender and Feminism 2025 on Saturday, September 27, 2025, with the main theme, Contemporary Gender Challenges and Feminist Perspective through Interdisciplinary Engagement. This distinguished event is proudly organized by the Pusat Studi Gender Universitas Jember on an online basis.
Hadirin yang kami hormati, marilah kita mendengarkan laporan yang akan disampaikan oleh Ketua Acara Second International Conference of Gender and Feminism 2025, Ibu L. Diah Purwita Wardani, SWW, SSMA.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to listen to the report delivered by the Chairperson of Second International Conference of Gender and Feminism 2025, L. Diah Purwita Wardani, SWW, SSMA. Time is yours.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. The Honorable Vice Rector of Universitas Jember, Profesor Bambang Kuswandi, MSc, PhD, and also the Honorable Dr. Anda Arifatul Khairi Fauzi, the Minister of Women Empowerment and Child Protection, the distinguished invited speakers, Profesor Saskia, Dr. Asyirah Abdul Rahim, Professor Robyn Alders, and also Dr. Abdhesh Kumar Gangwar. Welcome to this conference. And then the Honorable Head of Pusat Studi Gender, Universitas Jember, Dr. Linda Dwi Erianti, and also Dr. Suryaningsih as the Head of Research Center for Gender Equality and Child Protection, Universitas Mula Warman. All presenters and participants. First of all, praise and gratitude to God Almighty for enabling us to gather at the Second International Conference of Gender and Feminism 2025. This conference built on the success of our first in 2023, and we are proud to welcome 74 full paper submission nowadays from 104 submitted abstract from a diverse range of presenters from Lampung, East Java, Central Java, West Java, Bali, Madura, and also welcome from our presenters from Samarinda. We also appreciate our 7 publication partners for supporting the dissemination of knowledge. Semiotica, Journal of Feminism, Gender and Feminism, Lexema, Lingua, Mediacom, and also the Journal of Southeast Asian Human Rights. I extend heartfelt thanks to Rector Universitas Jember, Dr. Iwan Taruna, because of their support and also funding to all our distinguished speaker and participant, and also enriching this important dialogue. Big thanks also for our beloved friend from Pusat Studi Gender Universitas Jember, and also from all internship students who helped to prepare this conference. May this conference inspire collaboration and advance feminist perspective for a more inclusive and better society. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Santi Santi, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan.
Terima kasih atas sambutan yang disampaikan oleh Ibu Eldia Purwita Wardani, SWW, SSMA.
Thank you for the report delivered by Eldia Purwita Wardani, SWW, SSMA.
Hadirin yang kami hormati, sambutan akan disampaikan oleh Ketua Pusat Studi Gender Universitas Jember, Dr. Linda Dwi Erianti, SOS MA, disilakan.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to listen to the opening speech from the Chair of Pusat Studi Gender Universitas Jember, Dr. Linda Dwi Erianti, SOS MA. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First and foremost, let us offer our gratitude to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has with her wisdom and distinguished Rector Universitas Jember, Dr. Iwan Taruna, represented today by Professor Bambang Kuswandi, PhD, Vice Rector for Planning, Cooperation, and our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. Anda Hajah Arifatul Khairi Fauzi, MSI, Menteri Pemberdayaan Perempuan dan Perlindungan Anak Republik Indonesia. Thank you for your willingness to share your expertise and experience with us. Our honorable invited speaker, Dr. Abdhesh Kumar Gangwar, Professor Saskia Wieringa, Dr. Robyn Alders, Dr. Asyirah Abdurrahim, thank you for your generosity and enrich today's discussion. Valued member of the organizing committee led by Ibu Eldia Purwita Wardani, we extend our sincere gratitude for your tireless effort and commitment in making this conference possible. We also warmly thank to our co-host, Dr. Suryaningsih, head of the Center of Research and Gender Equality and Child Protection, Universitas Mula Warman, whose collaboration and unwavering support have been vital to the success of the event. Respected academic college and guests, on behalf of Pusat Studi Gender Universitas Jember, I am honored and privileged to welcome you to the second International Conference of Gender and Feminism. This conference is not merely an academic gathering. It is, in fact, a collective journey to rethink, reimagine, and reconstruct our understanding of humanity and civilization through the lens of feminist thought. We live in time when our global community faces profound challenges: social inequality, environmental crisis, political polarization, gender-based violence, and humanitarian conflict. These issues remind us that dominant paradigms have not yet secured justice and dignity for all. Feminist Perspectives, with their critical spirit and transformative vision, provide us with the tool to question, to challenge, and to reframe the structure that shape our lives. The theme of this conference, Feminist Perspective for Humanity and Civilization, carries a profound meaning. It invites us to place feminism not on the margin of intellectual discourse, but the heart of civilizational development. Furthermore, perspectives are not only about women, but also about rethinking the foundation of human coexistence. Feminism is not monolithic, but diverse, contextual, and dynamic. Feminist movement and scholarship carry different histories, struggle, and achievement. By bringing them together, we enrich our understanding and strengthen our. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to highlight three key aspirations from this conference. First, we aspire to advance knowledge. Through critical discussion, academic papers, and keynote lectures, we will deepen our understanding of how feminist perspective can contribute to humanity. This means looking at feminism as theory and a methodology for transforming social science, humanities, politics, and even natural sciences. Second, we aspire to fostering collaboration. We hope this conference becomes a starting point for networks that transcend borders, network for research, advocacy, and practice. By working together, we can amplify our voices and multiple our impact. But we aspire to inspire action. Feminist perspective remind us that theory must relate to practice and that intellectual discourse must lead to social transformation. Let us use the outcome of this conference to inform policy, empower communities, and create fundamental change in people's life, especially those most marginalized. Ladies and gentlemen, on this occasion, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to Rektor Universitas Jember, Bapak Iwan Taruna, for his invaluable support and facilitation of this international conference. We sincerely thank all participants for your active engagement and valuable contribution, which have greatly enriched this conference. Let this conference be more than just a series of sessions. Let it be seed a hope, a spark of solidarity, and a call for transformation. Let it remind us that feminism is not merely struggle for gender equality, but a vision for a civilization that values humanity, a society that honors diversity, protect the vulnerable, nurture the environment, and ensure justice for all. May our discussion be fruitful, our connection be lasting, and our commitment be strengthened. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih atas kata sambutan yang telah disampaikan oleh Dr. Linda Dwi Arianti, SOS MA.
Thank you for the opening speech by Dr. Linda Dwi Arianti, ASOS MA.
Hadirin yang kami hormati, marilah kita mendengarkan kata sambutan sekaligus pembukaan acara Second International Conference of Gender and Feminism 2025 yang akan disampaikan oleh Wakil Rektor Bidang Keperencanaan, Kerjasama, dan Sistem Informasi Universitas Jember, Profesor Bambang Kuswandi, MSc, PhD.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to listen to the opening remarks of the Second International Conference of Gender and Feminism 2025 by the Vice Rector for Planning, Cooperations and Information System of Universitas Jember, for Professor Bambang Kuswandi, MSc, PhD. Time is yours.
Thank you, DMC. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning for all participants in this international conference. The Excellency Minister of Women Empowerment and Child Protection, Republik of Indonesia, Ibu Dr. Anda Hajjah Arifatul Khairul Fauzi, MSI, as a keynote speaker in this international conference, and also the honorable invited speaker from around the world. First is Dr. Abdhesh Kumar Gangwar, Coordinator and Focal Point Regional Center for Expertise, Srinagar, India, and also Professor Robyn Alders from the Australian National University, Dr. Asyirah Abdurrahim from the University Sains Malaysia, and also Professor Saskia Wieringa from the University of Amsterdam, distinguished guests, speaker, esteemed scholar, activists, and participants. It is with great honor and enthusiasm that I welcome you all to the Second International Conference on Gender and Feminism 2025. This year we gather under the inspiring theme Feminism Perspective for Humanities and Civilization as a call to explore the transformative power of feminism through in shaping more equitable, inclusive, and compassionate world. We are particularly grateful to the organizing committee from the Center for Gender Studies, the University of Jember, led by Dr. Linda Dwi Arianti, and also the committee, Dr. Diah, whose dedication and expertise have made this gathering possible. Their visionary leadership and advancing gender study underscore the vital role of Indonesia, academia, and global feminist discourse. As we stand at the crossroads of global challenges, social equalities, cultural shift, and the urgent need for sustainable progress, feminism offers a critical lens to reimagine the humanity and redefine the foundation of civilization. This conference is a vibrant platform for exciting ideas, challenging norms, and envisioning future where gender justice intersect with broader aspiration of humanity. In this event, we will engage in two provoking discussions, share research, and amplify diverse voice that illuminated how feminism perspective can inspire meaningful change across discipline, culture, and society. Let us embrace this opportunity to learn, collaborate, and act toward a world where equality is not just an ideal, but a life reality. Once again, welcome to this international conference. May our collective effort spark new insight and drive progress for generations to come. Once again, thank you, and let us begin this conference journey together. On behalf of the Rector, University of Jember, by reciting Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I officially open this conference. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, and let it back to the MC. Thank you very much.
Terima kasih atas kata sambutan dan pembukaan oleh Profesor Bambang Kuswandi, MSc, PhD.
Thank you for the opening speech and the remarks by Profesor Bambang Kuswandi, MSc, PhD.
Para hadirin yang berbahagia, akhirnya seluruh rangkaian acara pembukaan telah kita lalui bersama. Semoga acara The Second International Conference of Gender and Feminism 2025 senantiasa membawa manfaat untuk kita semua dan membawa pada masa depan yang lebih gemilang. Semoga seluruh rangkaian acara konferensi bisa membawa kebaikan dan berkah tidak hanya bagi Pusat Studi Gender sendiri, namun juga untuk Universitas Jember.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have now successfully completed the entire opening sessions of the Second International Conference of Gender and Feminism 2025. It is our hope that this conference will bring meaningful benefits to all of us and pave the way toward brighter futures. May the whole series of events not only contribute positively to the Pusat Studi Gender, but also the Universitas Jember as a whole.
Hadirin yang kami hormati, kegiatan akan dilanjutkan kegiatan inti sesi seminar. Sesi pertama akan dipandu oleh moderator Ibu Rosnida Sari, SAG, MSc, PhD. Bachelor Degree at UIN Araniri, Banda Aceh. Master Degree on International Relation, Gajah Mada University. Doctorate Degree at Flinders University, Adelaide, South Australia. Non-degree program at Thammasat University on Faith Studies program. Short course on Community Development at McGill University, Montreal, Canada. Indonesia Delegate for Interfaith at Wuppertal, German. And short course on Conflict Resolution at Eastern Mennonite University, Virginia, USA. Dengan pemateri Dr. Abdhesh Kumar Gangwar dan Profesor Robyn Alders.
Distinguished guests, we will now proceed to the main agenda, which is the seminar sessions. The first sessions will be guided by our moderator, Rosnida Sari, SAG, MSc, PhD. She completed her bachelor degree at UIN Araniri, Banda Aceh, her master degree in international relations at Gajah Mada University, and her doctorate at Flinders University, Adelaide, South Australia. She has also undertaken a non-degree program on Faith Studies at Thammasat University, a short course on community development at McGill University in Montreal, Canada, represented Indonesia as a delegate for Interfaith Dialogue in Wuppertal, Germany, and attended a short course on conflict resolutions at Eastern Mennonite University, Virginia, USA. The sessions will feature two distinguished speakers, Dr. Abdhesh Kumar Gangwar and Profesor Robyn Alders.
Sesi kedua akan dipandu oleh Dr. Ramdi Fakurozi, Asos, M.Med.Com. Beliau merupakan dosen di Departemen Film dan Televisi Universitas Jember. Lulus dengan predikat cum laude pada program Doktor Ilmu Sosial di Universitas Erlangga. Pernah meraih penghargaan Non-Degree Training Scheme for Academic Mobilizing and Exchange di University of Hong Kong yang diselenggarakan oleh Islamic Development Bank. Menjelang akhir tahun 2025, beliau juga menjadi salah satu pendiri ACWA, Association for Collaboration in Worldwide Academia, bersama dengan anggota dari 6 negara lain. Beliau akan mendampingi dua pemateri, yakni Dr. Asyirah Abdul Rahim dan Profesor Saskia Wieringa.
The second sessions will be moderated by Dr. Ramdi Fakurozi, Ascom, M.Med.Com, lecturer at the Film and Television Department of Universitas Jember. He earned his doctorate in social science with honors cum laude from Erlangga University. She was also awarded the non-degree training scheme for academic mobility and exchange at the University of Hong Kong by the Islamic Development Bank. By the end of 2025, he is also recognized as one of the founders of ACWH Associations for Collaborations in Worldwide Academia, which includes members from 6 other countries. The sessions will feature 2 distinguished speakers, Dr. Asyirah and Profesor Saskia Wieringa.
Pada sesi ketiga, peserta akan masuk ke panel-panel sesuai pembagian yang telah disampaikan pada grup WhatsApp dengan dipandu oleh moderator ruang Zoom masing-masing.
On the third sessions, participants will proceed to their respective panel as assigned and previously informed through the WhatsApp group, guided by the moderator in each room.
Acara kami serahkan sepenuhnya kepada moderator yang bertugas. Kami selaku Master of Ceremony pada pagi hari ini pamit undur diri. Demikian, terima kasih.
We now entrust the sessions for our moderator. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to be the moderator for 2 invited speaker for this seminar. As you know, this is our second international conference on gender and feminism, and we are really, really happy that we can collaborate to have this seminar with the University of Mula Warman Samarinda. Today, there are 3 speakers that I will introduce to you. First, it's gonna be our Minister of Women Empowerment and Child Protection, Dr. Haji Arifatul Khairi Fauzi, MSI. Unfortunately, that she cannot attend for this conference directly, but she already sent us a video recording that we can see together and we can hear the message that she will deliver. For the committee, I give you time to give the video recording.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, Rahayu, salam bahagia, dan salam sehat untuk kita semua. Yang saya hormati Rektor Universitas Jember, Dr. Insinyur Iwan Taruna, Ketua Pusat Studi Gender Universitas Jember, Dr. Linda Dwi Erianti, MA, Chairperson International Conference on Gender and Feminism 2025, Ibu Diah Purwita, MA, para akademisi dan dosen dari berbagai perguruan tinggi, dan seluruh mahasiswa peserta konferensi, serta hadirin sekalian yang saya banggakan. Kementerian Pemberdayaan Perempuan dan Perlindungan Anak Republik Indonesia menyampaikan apresiasi dan penghargaan setinggi-tingginya kepada Pusat Studi Gender Universitas Jember dan seluruh panitia yang telah menyelenggarakan konferensi internasional ini dan menghadirkan ruang penting bagi pertukaran gagasan, refleksi, dan kolaborasi. Tema yang diangkat Feminist Perspectives for Humanity and Civilization sangat relevan dengan tantangan dunia saat ini. Peradaban tidak lahir dari satu suara saja. Peradaban dibangun oleh keberagaman, oleh kekuatan perempuan dan laki-laki, oleh suara yang sering terpinggirkan. Perspektif gender hadir bukan hanya untuk menuntut kesetaraan, tetapi untuk menegaskan bahwa kemanusiaan tidak akan utuh tanpa keadilan gender. Hadirin yang saya banggakan, feminisme dalam konteks Indonesia dapat dilihat dalam perjuangan Kartini dalam membuka pintu pendidikan bagi perempuan. Personifikasi Kartini hadir dalam bentuk peran perempuan di garis depan kemanusiaan saat bencana. Kartini juga hadir dalam upaya kita memastikan anak-anak tumbuh sehat, bebas dari kekerasan, dan memperoleh masa depan yang cerah. Dengan demikian, perspektif gender adalah perspektif kemanusiaan itu sendiri. Di era global saat ini, kita menghadapi berbagai tantangan, perubahan iklim, krisis kemanusiaan, disrupsi digital, hingga ketidakpastian ekonomi. Tantangan ini membutuhkan perspektif baru dalam membangun peradaban, perspektif dan kesetaraan, empati, dan solidaritas sebagai landasan. Kesetaraan gender menawarkan lensa kritis untuk melihat relasi kuasa, membongkar ketidakadilan, dan sekaligus membangun solusi yang lebih inklusif. Hadirin sekalian, sejalan dengan itu, konferensi ini juga memiliki relevansi yang erat dengan agenda pembangunan nasional. RPJMN 2025-2029, pemerintah menempatkan penguatan sumber daya manusia unggul, kesetaraan gender, serta ketahanan sosial dan budaya sebagai prioritas nasional. Selain itu, tema konferensi ini sejalan dengan visi besar Indonesia Emas 2045 yang menekankan pembangunan manusia berkarakter, tata kelola inklusif, dan peradaban yang berkeadilan. Dengan demikian, diskusi akademik di forum ini bukanlah sekedar wacana, tetapi merupakan kontribusi nyata dalam memperkuat fondasi pembangunan bangsa menuju masa depan. Kementerian Pemberdayaan Perempuan dan Perlindungan Anak Republik Indonesia berkomitmen memperkuat pengarusutamaan gender dalam seluruh kebijakan pembangunan, serta pencapaian Indonesia Emas 2045 hanya akan terwujud jika perempuan dan laki-laki berperan setara dalam pendidikan, ekonomi, politik, serta dalam menjaga bumi dan kemanusiaan. Hadirin yang saya hormati, konferensi ini adalah ruang yang sangat berharga untuk mempertemukan pengetahuan akademik, gerakan masyarakat, dan kebijakan publik. Mari kita jadikan konferensi ini bukan hanya sebagai ajang diskusi, tetapi sebagai pijakan untuk mendorong aksi nyata, untuk membangun generasi yang kritis, berani bersuara, serta berkomitmen pada nilai keadilan dan kemanusiaan. Akhir kata, mari kita yakini bahwa perspektif gender bukan hanya untuk perempuan, tetapi untuk seluruh umat manusia. Dengan kesetaraan gender, kita tidak sekadar membicarakan hak perempuan, melainkan membicarakan masa depan peradaban yang lebih adil, beradab, dan berkelanjutan. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I will introduce you to our the audience today. Dr. Abdhesh Kumar Gangwar is a focal point regional center of expertise on education for sustainable development, Srinagar, India. Formerly, Dr. Gangwar was senior program director, Center for Environment Education, a center of excellence in the field of environment education. He has been promoting education for sustainable development, and his various engagement aim at achieving a sustainable, climate-smart, and disaster-resilient community. Dr. Gangwar is a board member of the International Alliance for COVID-19 Community Response and has contributed a great deal in combating COVID pandemic globally. Research work of Dr. Gangwar and his group has been cited in Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change 2007 that won Nobel Prize for 2007. Wow, without further ado, we will hear about the transformative role of women in advancing sustainable development education. Dr. Gangwar, time is yours.
The transformative is not the simple, but the transformative role the women have to play in advancing what we call ESD, Education for Sustainable Development. Sustainability is a big problem. We have exploited the planet beyond its limits, the ecosystem boundaries. And this international conference is very timely, I find. And all these participants will really help in achieving sustainability, the sustainable development goals, and helping planet to become sustainable. That's the whole idea of this conference. This is a picture most countries, what we call, they are in the overshoot. Overshoot means when you consume more than what you have. You consume more than what you have. So you are in debt. You do not have, but you are consuming that. So you are over-harvesting. You are over-exploiting the planet. The planet has, for you, for 365 days, round the year. So you must confine your living within that, within 365 days. So what we call it, one planet living. You are living within one planet. You are living within what is available to you, not crossing the boundaries. Then you go to debt, and what you do is you take the share of the future generations, our children. So then the sustainability breaks. Okay, so Indonesia that way is very well placed compared to most countries. So if you look at the second Uruguay and then the Indonesia, so you consume from 1st January to November 18. It's quite good. There's a 1.5 month sort of the year. But many countries finish it much before, and the earth overshoot is very high. So we must appreciate the lifestyles of Indonesia, and the entire world must take a lesson and try to inculcate Indonesian way of life, right? Many other countries, they are terribly beyond. They do not have that much. Okay, so that way Indonesia is well placed. There are very few countries, just 51 world over, who do not have an overshoot. This is including India, Indonesia, India, and many more, the green color. So not having overshoot is a very good sign. It indicates that you are living in harmony with nature. There's no conflict. You are not over-exploiting. But in India, this is a lot because of poverty. It's not that voluntarily you are trying to reduce your footprint. Your demand on the planet is not because you purposely do it, but because you are poor, the country is poor. So many people do not have access to resources, opportunities, and there's a lot of inequality, a lot of unequal distribution of wealth and opportunities. So trying to make your country without overshoot, within one planet living, is wonderful. Indonesia and India have been doing that. This report comes once in 2 years. So this is the latest. The report for 24 is still under preparation and not yet out. A wonderful report, and I would recommend everyone especially the students, to go through it. It has a executive summary and then also the longest report. It tells us the status of the planet, how healthy it is, how unhealthy it has become. So wonderful report. And what it says, in 97, the overshoot was just 33%. But in 2022, has grown to 75%. So I hope this you understand. So we are putting excessive pressure on the planet. We are harvesting it much beyond its carrying capacity, its biocapacity. Earth cannot provide that much, but we really need. And all that comes, number one is the population. More people. They keep adding. And per capita consumption also has been increasing. So if you look at the green part here, the green line is the biocapacity. That much Earth can provide us. And the red line is what we expect from, what we harvest from the planet, which is our footprint. Footprint is how much we take from the planet, which is population multiplied by per capita consumption. So till 70s, or a little before 70, we were within one planet living. And we had ecological reserve. Our requirement from the planet was less than what planet could give us. So we had a lot of security. But post 70s, what we call industrial revolution, this has changed. The biocapacity has reduced, and the footprint because of increased population and per capita consumption. And now there is a deficit, a big deficit. And that is the whole gamut of issues we are trying to address. Unsustainability we have become, and the future of our children, the dear children, is at stake. And even our future at stake. We are just 60, 70, and then we have to live long years. And people say this is 2025. By 2050, the planet becomes so much uninhabitable if we do not take transformative actions. So very, very important, not just women, but the entire citizenry of the planet. But women have, I mean, they can do a lot better, and that's what we are discussing here. Same here, Earth Overshoot Day. So till 70 or before 70, one planet, one Earth, on the top left hand, one Earth, we were able to confine within one planet. The sound coming. And now on the right hand, if you look, we are requiring 1.8. 1.75 has now become 1.8. Now 0.8 is not with us. We have just one planet. 0.8 is not with us. So we have to come back to one planet. These are the dates exactly. Every year, this year it came to July 24. The overshoot was July 24. Now we still have 5 months to go. And that is what overshoot. Okay. Now in 2020, when the COVID pandemic was there, we had 68 days lockdown. So that really put a lot of uncomfort and problems to the people, but nature got rejuvenated. When the human activities were confined, nature got an advantage. So this is an example. This shows us, I mean, when we restrict ourselves, our activities, the nature gets a chance to rejuvenate. So not by 24 days in a year, just 5 days in a year, if we manage, not because of any pandemic or disaster, but voluntarily humanity plans reducing human activities 5 days in a year, then by 2050, we will be within one planet living. And then this whole sustainability aspect will be solved. And that's what the entire global efforts are towards. Sustainable development goals to all these international targets are towards reaching to one planet living. At the moment, we are 1.8. If we do nothing or do little less, simple efforts, then by 2050, we will require more than 2 planets. But then we have to come to one planet living, and 2050 is the target we have set. So move the date is the campaign. Move the date, and COVID has taught us this can be very well done, very well achievable and possible. 5 days in a year is very doable, and by 2050 we will reach to one planet living. These are the areas where we have to intervene. We have to take care of the planet, and everyone has to join hands, especially the women. And cities we have to, or the villages where we live, starting from homes. So they should be efficient, they should be well managed. Food is very important. Most of the footprint on the planet, most of the land goes in food production, and it has a huge cost on the environment, including biodiversity, it does climate change, ozone depletion, a lot of water is consumed, soil gets depleted, huge, but food is very important. Energy, of course, is the driving force. So how clean energy we have. Lot of energy world over is not really clean. It is sulfur-rich coal, and this causes a lot of carbon emission. So we have to have a clean energy. Population is the backbone, and what we say, empowering women and girls, that will help take care of the population. Okay, so these 5 areas, we have to make interventions. We have to find our niche, whatever subject, whatever expertise, whatever experience you have, where can you fit in out of these 5 big areas? You can break them into smaller areas. So mission is one planet compatible. So the strategies you make, the actions, the projects, activities you do, keep in mind that they address to one planet compatible. They do not cross the planetary boundary, and you do not have any overshoot. And that's what now transformative is not simple conservation or simple protection. So like Usain Bolt, speed by which we have to move, then only we will be able to come to one planet living, solve this issue of sustainability. We have damaged the planet so much that we need to really do it Usain Bolt speed. On the right hand, at the bottom, we have 3 elephant, frog, and the fish. These are the 3 ecosystems from where all our demands are met. Whatever production we have, the terrestrial part, where the forest is there, agriculture is there, everything, wildlife, animals. So that is also minus 38. It's a little old. So huge overexploitation and depletion. Fresh water is absolutely gone. It's a terrible picture world over. We do not have fresh water left, and the humanity will have to really face the water crunch. And even the ocean, we have terribly deployed, overexploited, huge problems of overfishing to plastics to whatnot. So the 3 major ecosystems that provide us the livelihood are terribly overexploited, that we have to keep in mind, and we have to help them regenerate, ecosystem regeneration. Now, if you look at who does all this, having people is good, provided they are an asset. Population, if it is an asset, to the country, to the globe, that's wonderful. But if population is not an asset, if it's a liability, means it is not skilled, it is illiterate, it is poor, it is unhealthy. So that puts tremendous pressure on the planet. These people are not able to contribute to the welfare of the planet. So huge, I mean, the stunting is when the child doesn't grow. Wasting, I mean, the vertical growth and lateral growth. This is a huge problem. So our future generations, they are not able-bodied. And this is where women have to really come out. And the entire humanity, the governance systems have to take care of the women folk so that we get healthy generation. When we have healthy people, the future is secured. So this has to be really taken care, stopped, addressed at the earliest. Children that are born have to be healthy, Okay. India, Nigeria, Pakistan, again, many countries, half of the world's these stunted children are in these countries. But also at the same time, we have stunted children. We have children who are obese, who eat lots. 1 million children overweight, and Indonesia is one case, India is one case. So on one hand, we have poor children. On the other hand, we have obese children. So this whole unequal, some people don't have enough to eat, some people have a lot of to eat. So this is all very, very terrifying statistics. By 2019, 693 million people were undernourished. And the next year, it rose by 118 million. So it became 8.11. So huge problems in getting food, getting nutrition, food security. No, we are not. On the other hand, 2 billion people are overweight or obese, and Indonesia and India and most countries are into that. So this we have to address to food, as I said, is very important. We must know where it is produced. So from field, when it comes to your plate, your table, soil to plate, the huge pathway, huge transit, the food that we eat from field to our plate to our kitchen. It has a long route, and all that has impact on the environment. So we need to be aware of that. Okay, so women have to take care of because they manage the kitchen. In India, a lot of the rural community used to cook on the firewood. So they used to cut the forest. That leads to climate change, to biodiversity loss, to several other environmental degradation. The government gave them the LPG. So now they are happy. They have they are able to help in climate change to all that. So such schemes. So number one, knowing where is your food coming from, what is the route it travels. The best is local food and the seasonal food. Then all your transportation, the refrigeration, packaging, many things are cut down, and your food has much less environmental toll. So food we eat, we have to be very careful. We have to know that where from it is coming. These are the women-related issues. So we have the poor children, unhealthy children. Now the women themselves, they are not healthy. They are not able to produce healthy offsprings. huge problems. We saw the film, sexual violence to who were huge. These are 20, but then a long list. Access to health care. So women need to be provided good healthcare facilities, and also the education. Then the empowerment takes place, and then healthy women, they are able to take care of the children. The children becomes healthy. So health and education are the two important areas we need to intervene. And then also so many violence to their rights, to wages, to trafficking, to so much representation into the government systems. I mean, girls are not going to school for various reasons. Parents are not sending, schools are not equipped to toilets, to violence, to safety. That's terrible. 100.9, 119 girls are
Excuse
out
me,
of.
doctor. I just informed that only left 3 minutes for the presentation.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to, and this is in most part of the world, the primary education and the secondary education, they're terribly weak. We need to focus on helping children to, and when your elementary and secondary education is weak, then higher educational institutes cannot do much. So we have to really focus on, and for the girls, secondary education, they attain poverty and they understand. Okay, so huge areas, women have to come forward, and the entire government, the policies have to be women oriented. Wherever we find the scope, infrastructure, legal protection, entrepreneurship, they play a vital role in this is out. We need to give them the skills, entrepreneurship, and make the market linkages. So once they are financially independent, then they have very simple techniques, tools. This is what we call poly greenhouse. Whatever they have interest, tailoring, embroidery, cooking, digital, mushrooms, agriculture. But these two areas, water is very important. We saw the aquifers drying up, very little fresh water left. So, and very simple techniques. You just have this contour, and then the water seeps in, and then your vegetation comes. The area is green, forested, and then your water recharge is there. Soil as well. I mean, your soil is terribly poor. The organic content has gone, and the ecosystem restoration. This is the decade 21 to 2030 United Nations has. And when we make the planet healthy, human beings will be healthy. Women have to really empower. This is, in India, we have a government at the village level. People elect your representatives. And each village has a development plan. So women have to be involved. They have to make a plan which is inclusive, which is their participation. Yes, if you have resources, fine, local resources, your country resources. If not, then you have to get a lot of foreign FDI, direct investment. And that will happen only when your place is, the investor is secured, his money is secured. So you need to have your area safe. And agents of change, the women needs to be agents of change. You have to be change maker and join hands. This is what the left hand is the situation now, and the right hand was before 70 our forefathers. So living in harmony with nature, you are one amongst the gamut of species. Now this is all dominance. The current human attitude is dominance, and that leads to conflict with nature. And in India, we have lifestyle for environment, and that's in the Paris Climate Agreement, India says, unless we change our lifestyles, we are not going to solve the issue of climate change. We are terribly poor in achieving the SDGs. And 3 SDGs, we are no progress. This is reversal. And technology is important, policies, legal systems, financial mechanisms, enforcement. But then ESD, what we call Education for Sustainable Development, is a lot more important in achieving sustainability. And then on the right hand, if you look at the individual, each one of us has to contribute. There's no, I mean, then you can do the family, institution, community. So your footprint is what you take from the planet. If you reduce that, and handprint is what we have come to. This is your action towards sustainability. 27th November, we celebrate your handprint day. So all the youth teachers, you just go to this website, you can calculate your handprint, you can calculate your footprint, just type footprint calculator. So each one of us should calculate, should know our handprint, our footprint, and then try to mix and match how we can reduce footprint, how we can increase handprint. So once we have empowered people, educated people, healthy people, all these 17 SDGs are interconnected. So if you achieve one, the others are taken care of. And then we have the sustainable development. This is Indian Prime Minister. His motto is reform. You make your systems and then perform. You implement and transform. That's what is needed. And this is what our father of the nation, Gandhi, said. We have the capacity, but we are not able to utilize that. So something, what we do and what we are capable of doing. So we have to harness some leadership, something to trigger what we can do, not simply what we are doing. So the transformative will be do what we can do, and that will solve the world's problem. This is Balikpapan, 2012. We had RC Global meeting there, and fantastic. We all enjoyed. You have the RC community there. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Selamat pagi, Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Okay, so before we hear the presentation of Ibu Asyirah, I would like to let you know about a bit about her background. Dr. Asyirah binti Abdurrahim is an academic leader, researcher, and advocate whose work bridges environment, gender, and community development. She currently serves as a Deputy Dean at the School of Humanities, Universitas Sains Malaysia, and the Center for Global Sustainability Studies. With over 15 years of experience, Dr. Asyirah has contributed extensively to the field of sustainability science, climate resilience, and environmental governance. Her research addresses issues ranging from urban green, blue space, and ecosystem services to the intersection of social inclusion and sustainable development. Ibu Asyirah, now time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, good morning, and first of all, I would like to for my thanks to the organizer of ICOGF 2025 at the University of Jember for inviting me to join this, I think, very interesting and also important conference and to share what I have in this panel. I'm also very excited just now to be able to hear from Dr. Abdhesh. I think we have met a few times, but it has been a long time ago when I was the coordinator of RCE Penang. But now I'm still an associate, but I'm more active in another unit, which I will be sharing with all today. So before I start, let me share my presentation. I hope we can see this. You can see the slides. Let me see.
Yes, we can see the slide.
Okay. So it's all right. Please let me know if the time is up. I think it's 20 minutes, yeah? Okay. I will try to to do, but I don't have so much. Okay. I will try my best. I think we have heard about the global picture presented by Abdhesh just now. So mine would be more on the local initiative and focus on mostly what I do with community. Okay, so it's the hand, yeah. I think the hand or the action, the handprint that we do, and I would like to highlight more of the partners of our community partners rather than the academic part of this. So uh, for a start, yeah, let's look at this. Alam terkembang menjadi guru. So, or in English, maybe nature unfolds itself as a teacher. So we actually learn a lot from our teacher. So this is part of my side. Actually, I am working a lot with blue spaces. That means water. So this is at one of the rivers in the northern part of Peninsular Malaysia, where it is one of the major catchment area that provide us water. And mostly people don't know where you get your water because you just open your tap and the water comes out. But now with climate change, we are facing threats to this our water catchment, and also due to logging, etc. So what happens to our rivers? So, and this is just to share some of the pictures. Yeah, a lot of pictures actually that I'm sharing just to make the slides more beautiful, I guess. Yeah. But coming back to these words, yeah, it reminds us that nature is not just a resource to be used. It is a living teacher, nurturing, guiding, and also sustaining us. So we must be have a close relationship. It must be in our heart. Yeah, it's not just the software. It should be part of us, hardware, not the HARD, but HEART, the heart. Yeah, hati, jantung, yeah. Yeah, so maybe usually we hear Mother Nature. So, I think it is something that remind us of our mother that nurtures us, that have this resilience, yeah. Okay, coming to our team, yeah, I go straight away. Women as our key environmental actors. Actually, everybody is, but because of the theme of this conference, I would like to focus, yeah, on women. And so the slides after this will focus some of the what we see, what we do every day, but actually this is something that is important, that can be, yeah, the bridge between how do we look at the actions that we can do. The women mostly are the custodians of agricultural in terms of seed, in doing agriculture, yeah, especially in the rural region. And we can see also that in rural areas especially, but now also we can see in the urban area, peri-urban area, in terms of water management, yeah, water managers. Yeah, we do the household, so we actually are the managers of how we use water, and therefore we can also be the educators, yeah, to talk about how best to manage our daily lives, yeah, ensuring daily access for their family. Maybe in our cities, especially big cities now, the mega cities, we can see a huge, yeah, gap between the wealthy and the rich and the poor. And we can also see in terms of services, a lot of places, yeah, are lacking in water resources. So how do we look at these issues? So how are the mothers or the women? So there are many cases, and if you search in, for example, at the website of UN Habitat, for example, you can find many references and many case studies that show you how families in big cities. Yeah, in a lot of our big cities, I think in Indonesia we also have, yeah, in a lot of the African cities in the countries in the Africa, and also maybe also in India, yeah, how they have adapted their lifestyle because of water, yeah, so that we can have clean water. Um, okay, and in urban areas also, we can see that women lead household level adaptations to climate change, from waste segregation, energy savings as well. Yet, despite these contributions, women voices, yeah, remain underrepresented in environmental governance and policy. And this paradox being both disproportionately vulnerable to environmental change and simultaneously holding deep ecological knowledge, because we need to also understand about our system, about our ecosystem. However, we are facing this climate change, the changes in our climate. Now we cannot, I don't know whether to predict. Now, even in Malaysia, I heard Abdhesh saying that now is not so hot, yeah, but in Malaysia, in Penang now, it's raining every day. Yeah, it's like we are facing, some are some are saying that it's La Nina. So I'm not sure whether it is, yeah, but those are in the climate, yeah, looking into climate, maybe can explain more, yeah. So these are some of the things. Yeah, this picture actually is one of the kampong or the village where they still use the rivers to clean, yeah, their clothes and also the dishes. So in this presentation, I actually bring two perspectives. One is the social ecological systems perspective, linking the social system and ecological system. How do we look at what is happening in terms of ecological system, the changes, the degradation of the quality, etc., and how, yeah, in terms of social systems, we are adapting to it or we are taking action. Yeah, so human and ecosystems are intertwined. We cannot separate ourselves from. We are part. Yeah, we are part of the ecosystem. So their knowledge. So this framework views human and natural system as intertwined and co-evolving. Women within this framework are not passive users, but an integral components of resilience. If we want to adapt, yeah, women is one of the main target groups, yeah. For example, the knowledge of local ecosystems help maintain biodiversity. We look at many cases. And then the adaptive strategies, whether in farming, yeah, in fishing, in urban food systems, also in looking at waste, yeah, trying to look at ecosystem quality. We can find that a community need to absorb the shocks. Like now we are facing droughts or floods or climate vulnerability. So how do we then adapt to this? So this is one, yeah. Some of the pictures that I share here is some of the activities that we do, yeah. I will talk about this later, but we are looking at our lifestyle. Yeah, we now have too many clothes. Yeah, we like to shop. Do you like to shop? I'm sure you always try to shop. So what happens to the old clothes? Yeah. Do you throw away or do you make use to it? So part of our work, yeah, at USM is looking at what happens to the products after end of life. We don't want to send them to the landfill. So can we prolong their life? Yeah, can we prolong their life so that we can lessen the waste. Yeah, this is also land availability, especially in cities where we see that a lot of waste. Yeah, so many ways. So we do upcycling and innovation in school. That is part of ESD, part of what we do in education for sustainable development. Here, I think up here is actually this is coffee beans. I think in Jember also you have coffee, right? So what happens? So this is a school that I visited in Thailand, actually in Krabi, where they use the I think the kulit, the skin, yeah, of the fiber from the coffee bean, and also the coffee that after you use, you make the coffee, they turn it into different products. So the schools there, this is part of the school activities that they have, where they make it into different products that they can sell. Okay. And another perspective that I want to bring is the what I call the community-based participatory research. Yeah. So this community-based participatory research, I think is not something new. Yeah, community-based research is, I think, has been, especially in social sciences. Yeah, we always do that. But I would like to also, other than RCE just now, yeah, we also have another UNESCO chair that promote this community-based participatory research, where we co-create knowledge with community. It is called UNESCO Chair on Community-Based Research and Social Responsibility in Higher Education. So actually it focuses on higher education and how at the university level we encourage to work with community. I think in Indonesia you have the where you go and work, yeah, in the community. So we also have that as part of our in Malaysia as well. Yeah, I forgot the name in Indonesia. Maybe Ibu Rosda can remind later. Yeah, and here also, yeah, what I show here is women as co-researchers. We can see these two girls. Yeah, here they are actually part of the group in the school where they learn to become guides, tour guide, because this is Krabi. So their local economy is tourism. So they were no, they are taught, yeah, to look at their natural environment and their resources and how to include that in their learning experience and using that to also build their capacity, their skills, yeah, and also to teach the what is interesting when we visited this is that they also part of their curriculum is also learning how to teach the tourists to take care or to conserve, conservation of their nature. Yeah, so. And the bottom picture is the one in Perak in Malaysia. This is the next slide. I will explain more. Yeah, so this is another case where a geopark. Geopark is actually a geopark guide. Usually, this is a man's dominant job. Yeah, but here we find a geopark lead by women, where this is Awa. And also I have another picture. So Awa is actually have her own company, and she teach people about the conservation of geological sites at this area. So GeoGuide, where they do education and conservation. So but actually her background is actually business. So she learned and work together with agency and with schools. So she is now proposing to the education department at her state, yeah, to adopt what she called the geo schools, meaning that to create geo knowledge, yeah, to share geo knowledge with the students, university students around the area and the schools on their local situation. And this is the logo of the UNESCO that I mentioned just now. So the company, our is called Ventrex, yeah, Outdoor Recreation, where this is her also with working with our orang asli or our indigenous people, because those indigenous people live, yeah, in the area, so they know very well about the area. There's a lot of knowledge, yeah, actually within our community that actually we need to also learn. So we must I think that now if you are aware about the UNESCO Open Science, that are pillar 3 that encourage us to also acknowledge or learn from other stakeholders as well. It's not just from our university textbook. Yeah, we also must acknowledge the knowledge that are given by a lot of our communities. Yeah. So the partnership, yeah, between university with this guide association and also local community like these indigenous people, yeah, the one in blue at the end here, yeah, is the I forgot her name, I'm sorry, but it's a local people, and in the middle is a mother and son from Japan. So they go to a tour, so it becomes very personalized and experience, yeah, for them as a tour or nature recreation. So this partnership shows how women as leaders in ecotourism, in conservation and education, and making sustainability both a livelihood strategy and as well as cultural practice and conservation. So it is part of their income generation and as well as conservation at the same time. So it becomes a living experience. So another example that we do, yeah, this is part of an Erasmus Plus funding that we got, that I lead actually as the coordinator with 9 institutions from Cambodia, Laos, Malaysia, Portugal and Spain. Yeah, this is one of activities that we use lionize here. Is the recycling and upcycling of old linen that we get from hospitals. What is interesting here is that the ladies here, they are not to say tailors, but they do sewing. Yeah, sewing. So they make sewing. So we invited these sewing ladies, yeah, to come and share how we can make bags. And these bags are actually we are teaching the what we call disabled students. Yeah, disabled students. So disabled students from, or we call it a minority group, yeah, they have special children, special classes, special education. So it is very simple that can be done. So these ladies, yeah, the sewing, they help, yeah, to sew the bags and also those that can from the disabled that can do the sewing, simple sewing, and can also do their own. So this create jobs as well, because as we know, these disabled students, sometimes it is very hard for them to go out, yeah, to find employability outside. So through this, we create the university and the NGO, and also through the the person with disabilities NGO and the special needs students. And then actually the project has many phases. Yeah, this is only one part of it. And then if they can finish this education and can get the certificate, they can move on how they can manage on their own to be sustained. Yeah, so it is also important to ensure
Ibu,
that
just
okay.
a little reminder, your time
Okay.
is only 3 minutes left.
Okay, another 2 slides, I think. Yeah. So some of the barriers and challenges would be on the structural, part in terms of physical and also organizational, and then the cultural norms, of course, and also the policy gaps. Yeah. Policy framework sometimes neglect gender perspectives in environmental planning, but we also find that they are gender-based budgetary planning. That is also, we can find that in, I think, World Bank, and also in Malaysia, we have some states, they are also looking into that. Yeah, if you want, I can share some links. Yeah, and then in terms of opportunities and transformation, I'm sure that participatory governance that ensure women have equal representation in decision making, it is happening, but we need to strengthen that. Importantly, we need to look at education and training that recognize and value women's ecological knowledge, yeah, because they have the knowledge and maybe they need to know how they can also, not to say exploit, can use that to their advantage, yeah, and also to share back with us. And I think integrating these SDGs 5, 11, and 13. Okay, so I think this is I think my before I go, yeah, pantun, yeah, maybe pohon selasih condong ke titi, tumbuh di laman bunga seroja. Alam yang bersih, hidup diberkati, wanita berdaya, bangsa sejahtera. Or may I try to translate that in English? Yeah, I'm not very good in translation. The basil tree leans towards the bridge. Well, maybe this is direct translation. Yeah, sorry. Lotus blooms grow in the yard. A clean environment blesses our lives. Empowered women bring a prosperous nation. So this is from our Dewan Bahasa, yeah, koleksi pantun Melayu. And I think that's all from me, yeah. Back to our Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
So now it's my distinct honor to introduce our speaker for this plenary session. The third one is coming from Professor Robyn Alders. She is coming from Australia National University. Yeah, I will read
Belum join.
CV. Yeah, okay, Bu El. Prof. Robyn got her PhD in veterinary immunology, Australian National University. And then she has worked closely with women and then farmers and producer in Africa, Asia, and Oceania for over 30 years. And for much of this time, she has worked in collaboration with national and international authorities on the development of sustainable infectious and emerging infectious disease control in animals in resource-limited areas in support of food and nutrition security, and then income generation, and wildlife conservation and public health. And then Prof. Robyn also recognized the important role of socioeconomic issues, including gender and sustainability, livestock development, and value chains. And she's also employing the One Health approach, especially in the policy arena. And her current research and policy interests are sustainable and safe food and nutrition security. Also infectious disease prevention, gender equity, on One Health and science communication. I think we got very incredible speakers today. So, but because Prof. Robyn cannot join lively yet, the committee told to me that Prof. Robyn will join at 11, I hope. So the committee will play the tapping video from Prof. Robyn. Maybe Pak Didi or one of committee can help me to play the video from Professor Robyn. Thank you.
Women's health and options for moving forward. Hello, it's lovely to join you today and to have a chance to speak briefly about women and health, the byline being her story, our future, history's role in shaping women's health and options for moving forward. It's important that I acknowledge Prof. Eco and his team and everyone at Jember University. It's been a delight to work with you. And it's also important that I acknowledge many different people from around the world who have been very kind in sharing their experiences and their knowledge with me over the years. This slide is not going to come as a surprise to you. You'll be very well aware of the situation of women's health in Indonesia, and I've chosen three indicators here, one being the maternal mortality ratio, which remains too high. Studies suggest that in terms of anemia, the rates of anemia are much higher in women than they are in men. And we look at height, and we know that we often use height when we're referring to stunting in children. And when we look at height in men and women, we see that on average there's a 10 centimetre difference between men and women in Indonesia. In terms of immediate issues for coastal women's health, there are some that relate to their physical and occupational health risks, things such as repetitive strain injuries, problems from carrying very heavy loads, excess exposure to sun and to salt from water, chemical use on occasions, poor protective gear, and they can also face a range of respiratory, skin, and musculoskeletal issues. If we think about reproductive, maternal, and nutritional health, you're very well aware that in coastal and in remote areas, there's often limited access to prenatal and postnatal care for women. And in particular, there's limited access to an adequate diet, particularly for more vulnerable women. And one of the problems we face is that often the health status of women is also not considered. So on the right-hand side, I've got your lovely food pyramid here, and this is often how many countries represent the need to have a diverse diet. However, in this, it suggests that there is one overall approach. I would like to suggest to you that it is really important that we think about being specific of diets for women according to their health status. Are they pregnant? Are they breastfeeding? Are they doing heavy work over long periods of time? In each of these categories, the diet they need should be adjusted for their circumstances. If we think about social determinants and intersectionality, we're very aware that poverty, class, location, ethnicity, and age can all play a role in the ability to access health care that are required. When it comes to serving meals within the household, there can be cultural norms as to who should eat first and who can make decisions about what is eaten. And in particular, and something that will have been, that is highlighted in the book that's going to be launched during this conference, environmental change is having a significant impact, both climate change, impact on coastal landscapes, increasing frequency of disasters. These issues are, in most cases, impacting the most vulnerable more. And if you're going to talk about coastal women, often these are the members of society who are really being impacted by these particular changes. If we think about health systems access and barriers, we know that the distance and transport issues for people who live away from where the clinics are located, that transport can be a real problem. The cost of health care, having that money both to pay for your transport and then to pay for your medical care. If women are involved with informal work, often they have no health insurance or limited social protection. And in many cases around the world, women's health tends to be deprioritized. And this is a significant issue that we continue to face today. So what I'd like to ask you, my question to you is, can we look back? And if we look back, is that going to help us to move forward? And now I'll go on to explain why I'm asking this question. If we look at indicators of human health in deep history, so this is thousands of years ago, biological studies have found that in the period before humans started to practice sedentary agriculture and being based in specific areas without moving, that often the stature, the height of people declined as people became more sedentary, meaning that they lived in villages and expected the food to come to them. And importantly, if we look at what's happened over the thousands of years, that the height difference between men and women has also increased. So that means that the height of men relative to women, that difference has become greater. So now the modern woman tends to be much shorter than men, whereas thousands of years ago, the height difference between men and women was much smaller, suggesting that men and women had, or that women in particular, had access to diets that were meeting all of their nutritional requirements. And in my opinion, this is linked to gender perspectives. And here in Australia, I'm still learning about Indigenous history and Indigenous perspectives. And what I've learned is that in Indigenous societies, men and women have distinct gender realities, but there's no sense of hierarchy there. There's not one that's more important than the other. Both are important to the functioning of their communities. And what we've seen is that colonization and the subsequent introduction of the patriarchal system has altered gender realities, and it's had a negative impact on both Indigenous men and Indigenous women, their health and their well-being, that this impact has been cumulative and it continues to this day. From the limited reading that I've done around gender in Southeast Asia, research suggests that in the years before colonization, women tended to have relatively high autonomy and were seen to have economic importance. There was no suggestion that men and women would be equal because they had different functions, but those functions were considered equally important for the functioning of their communities and their societies. And that women's reproductive role was actually considered incredibly important and given the priority and the recognition that it really deserves. If we look at the way we perceive health, I'm starting here with a definition of human health as defined by the World Health Organization in 1948. And that definition was that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So at its time in 1948, this was considered a very enlightened definition of health. As the health community, the human health community developed over time, they recognized that community health and engagement is also very important. And so these new approaches to public health that took into account multi-sectoral and multidisciplinary collaborative activities that works across a range of inputs such as public health, using evidence-based strategies, and other approaches to engage and work with communities in culturally appropriate manners. And that this was important to optimize the health and quality of life of all persons who live, work, or are otherwise active in a defined community or communities. And so that this were definitions that I put together from 2014, 2020, so this century. However, as I've been learning about human health perspectives here in Australia, my reading and my discussions with my Indigenous colleagues has helped me to understand that, in fact, in Indigenous language, there is no specific word for health. Rather, they have a much more comprehensive understanding of what it means to be healthy. So their understanding of health involves the social, emotional, and cultural well-being of the whole community. And it's a whole of life view from cradle to grave, as we say in English. It's a view where healthcare services should strive to achieve the state, the situation where every individual is able to achieve their full potential as human beings and bring about the total well-being of their communities. The whole community is the focus of these initiatives throughout the entire life course, and that broad issues such as social justice, equity and rights, as well as traditional knowledge, traditional healing and connection to country are incredibly important. Mental health and physical health, cultural and spiritual health are all interlinked. And very important here is that land, country, and I should say that in the Indigenous definition, country also includes waters. So waterways and water landscapes are also very important to Indigenous communities here. So all of this is wrapped up in their understanding, their perspectives of health and well-being. It's a much more sophisticated understanding and one that I think contains great wisdom. And in this illustration, it simply seeks to put the three different definitions together. And what you see that the more Western, the more recent definitions of health here I've labelled as human-centric, whereas the Indigenous, the comprehensive understanding of health and well-being is much more ecocentric. So ecosystems, environmental health in the very comprehensive approach. And if you look at once again from the Western perspective, what has been agreed to with the Sustainable Development Goals developed by member countries through the United Nations, what you see is that these more holistic approaches tend to link to and can impact on achieving each of these Sustainable Development Goals. So what I'd like to do is to think, as we move forward and we think about health equity and feminist policy suggestions, I'd like to suggest that it would be valuable to revisit and incorporate traditional knowledge systems in each of your countries and to think about how they may improve your approach to health and to other development initiatives. Certainly, we need to look at the better implementation of existing laws, for example, ensuring that coastal women can get their enterprises registered officially. Really important that we facilitate gender-sensitive health services, that there be mobile clinics, maternal and postnatal care, and appropriate protective gear and equipment. In terms of our research and the data that we connect, to ensure that there's data collection and the desired recognition of the importance of this data, for this to work, data needs to be disaggregated by gender, and it should allow the different activities that women are involved with also to be highlighted and analysed. And in particular, to support community-based health and social protection schemes. Those of you in the regions will know that this approach was also incredibly important during the COVID-19 pandemic, and hopefully those networks, those initiatives continue to be funded, resourced, and to continue to innovate in order to deliver health services to communities and in particular to women living in coastal regions. So they're the key points that I wanted to share with you. For those of you who are interested, here are the references that support some of my comments in this or statements in this presentation. And once again, thank you very much. Terima kasih. And I'm really looking forward to listening to your ideas and your comments during the Q&A session, or if my internet fails, please reach out and contact me via email. Once again, thank you very much.
I would like to invite you all to welcome our last keynote speaker. She is Professor Dr. Saskia Eleonora Wieringa from Australia National University. She is Prof. Saskia from Amsterdam. Yeah, so sorry. Prof. Saskia is a Dutch sociologist from Amsterdam. He is a professor on gender and women same-sex relation cross-culturally at the Faculty of Social and Behavioral Science at the University of Amsterdam. The area of his study was established by the Foundation for Lesbian and Gay Studies and sponsored by HIVOS. And from 2005 until 2012, he served as the director of ALETA, the Institute for Women History. If I'm not mistaken, currently the name is Atria Institute on Gender Equality and Women's History, also in Amsterdam. So I think we give the time, and Prof. Saskia, the room is yours, please.
Okay, here I am with you. Okay, so the first slide is, of course, always the start of the women's movement with Raden Ajeng, Raden Ayu, later Kartini, who, through her brilliant letters, speaks to us. She still speaks to us. And in fact, I would advise all of you to buy the lovely edition that Professor Wardiman Joyonegoro recently put out, in which all of her writings have been translated into Indonesian. It's a beautiful edition. At least it should be in your library, so you can enjoy in Indonesian the letters of this brilliant woman. What she fought for was, in the first instance, women's education and marriage reform. She was very much against polygyny and all the other marriage issues that are still prevalent. Anti-colonialism. She attacked colonial oppression, but also coming herself from a Priyayi background, anti-feudalism. And she said, if we want an aristocracy here in this country, it shouldn't be a feudal aristocracy, but a moral aristocracy. And this is a lesson we can still learn if we think of the enormous damage done to the country by greedy and corrupt officials and all that. So she advocated a moral aristocracy. She, of course, denounced the racism that she encountered in her life, and her brothers also, who were studying, one of her brothers, studying in Indonesia. And most of all, what she has been known for, and what we can learn from her, is her insistence on critical inquiry. Yeah? Right? We always must have a critical mind and always investigate everything that is around us. She was also an early advocate of religious tolerance, and she said that religion demands us to fight for equality and compassion. And of course, sadly, this brilliant woman died in childbirth. Now, there were other early feminists, and here is a picture of Ibu Dewi Sartika, who also was an enormous fighter for women's education. In fact, she set up the first women's school. Chut Yang Dien, army leader, Maria Valanda Maramis, Marta Cristina Tiahawu, Rohana Kudus, and of course, well known also a little bit later, generation later, Suwarni Joyo Saputro, di Taman Siswa. Many others. And if we think of the highlights of the pre-independence women's movement, of course, what is well known is the 1928 Women's Congress in Jogja, which is still celebrated every year in Indonesia, and the establishment of Istri Sedar, a great progressive women's organization. And to see of the success of women's education, we have to see that the 28 Women's Congress was organized by 3 teachers. Nyonya Hajar Dewantara, who at that time was still called Ibu Suwardi, from Taman Siswa, and Nyonya Suyatin Kartowiono, who later, of course, was very known as a Perwari leader, and Ibu Sukonto. She was from Vanito Utomo. There were about 20 organizations that joined this Congress at the time, from Vanito Utomo and Vanita Taman Sisma to the women's wing, Saya Perempuan, from SE and the Young Islamitenbond. So it was a combination of secular, Christian also, Vanita Katholiek was there, and Muslim Islamic organizations. And the issues that were discussed were education, women's education, the nasib of orphans and widows, child marriage, which is still an important issue, the reform of particularly Islamic marriage laws, which of course allow polygyny, the abolition of forced marriages, arranged marriages, and nationalism. Of course, Indonesia was still under the Dutch occupation. What was then established was the PPI, Persatuan Perempuan Indonesia, and which actually has survived history and is still in the form of Kowani with us. I think that one of the important outcomes was the establishment of Istri Sedar 2 years later, which is the most progressive organization at the time, and which demanded full equality, so also marriage reforms and monogamy. What was very clear at the time is that there was this split between Muslims and secular women's organizations, particularly on the issue of marriage reform. Muslim organizations said that, well, we don't like polygyny, but we have to accept it. And secular and Christian organizations said we will never accept polygyny. And this is an issue that is still playing a role at the moment. So if we just go jump some 60, sometimes even from Kartini 120 years, what has been achieved so far? Well, if you look at the index, the gender index, then we can see that on gender issues, there is parity, almost parity, keseimbangan, on education and health. But the high level of poverty in Indonesia particularly affects female-headed households, right? Women, widows or janda or whatever, raising children, they are the worst off in the poverty figures. Polygyny is still prevalent. Kawin paksa, forced marriage also, and trafficking in young girls and also in women is also an issue that has never been solved. If you look at women's political representation, another index variable, then we can say that women's political representation is very limited. At the moment, it's 22% in DPR. But from the cabinet, this is a very sorry state of affairs. 5 out of over 50 cabinet members, full ministers, are only women, and 8 of the 56 deputy ministers are women. This is really shameful for Indonesia, I would say, at the moment, which of course has to do with militarization of the country, which I can't discuss in this presentation. Looking at the fact that Ibu Kartini died in childbirth, we have to look at the figures of kematian ibu, maternal mortality, and we see that it's extremely high in Indonesia, among the highest in Southeast Asia. This is, I think, very shameful for a country like Indonesia. One of the issues that is a reason for this is the highly unequal division of labor between the sexes, right? I think this is also an issue that accounts for the problems in the coastal areas, and particularly for maternal mortality. Women are really overburdened because the full burden of household duties rests on their shoulders. I think we can say that the country is ruled by a patriarchal oligarchy in which increasingly human and gender-based rights, also of LGBT groups, is being neglected. And new issues, and I think you discussed it also in the previous presentation, are climate change and the destruction of the environment. Okay, so then independence happened, and what changed? If you look at this picture, actually Sukarno fell out of it because of the, I don't know how to arrange it. We see on the backs 2 women, Ibu Trimurti, from, of course, at that moment, not yet established Partai Buruh, and Ibu Fatmawati. And these, of course, symbolize the presence of women, even at the beginning of independence. And according from Ibu Trimurti, we have the very progressive labor laws that Indonesia still has, although the patriarchal oligarchy I just mentioned is trying to chisel away some of that now. But what is particularly ignored is the enormous contribution of the Laskar Wanita, the women's guerrilla units, in the independence war. Indonesia had to fight an independence war, a very brutal and bloody independence war in which about 100,000 Indonesians were killed and 3,500 Dutch soldiers, so very unequal war. But in the end, Indonesia got its independence. As a result, the role of the army in national history has been very much stressed, while the role of women has been under-evaluated. But right after 1950, we saw an enormous growth and spirit of building the country by a lot of independent women's organizations, Perwari, but also Bayangkari, Kowani, of course, in a different form, was very important, and Gerwani came up as Gerwis first in 1950. But we also saw, right from 1950 onwards, a gradual, what I call a gradual return to women's traditional roles. In the women, of course, the Kodrat Wanita was stressed again, and women had to return to the 3 areas that are established for the Dapur, Sumur, and Kasur, and the kitchen, the domestic labor, Sumur, and the Kasur, the marriage bed, and they had to be under male control. So traditional organizations like Wanita Katholiek and Asyirah stressed those kinds of issues. Perwari and Gerwani stressed more the political roles of women. So if we look at some pictures of the time in the late 50s. On the left picture, we see a smiling President Sukarno surrounded by, well, I think it must be hundreds of women. If you look at the picture, if you study it, if you look at the dress of the women, you see that the dress is sometimes Western, but usually batik. It's in Java, of course. Batik is a kain kebaya, and none of the women, and that's, I think, something that I haven't found one woman with a jilbab at the time. This is very recent, right? The 60s. And on the right picture, we see a group of rural women following an illiteracy class, pemberantasan buta huruf, yeah? They're learning to read and write because education was highly neglected under the Dutch occupation. And so this is one of the important things to bring education to all kinds of women. Well, all this independent organizing ended in 65 when there was a regime change, which we now call Suharto's creeping coup. I have no time here at the moment to discuss the role of Suharto in this coup, but the end, of course, we all know, is he managed to replace President Sukarno under enormous bloodshed. About 1 million, maybe 3 million people were murdered and hundreds of thousands put into prison. We call it a genocide now, as the International People's Tribunal. And instead of the independent women's organizations, it is replaced by the New Order gender ideology, which you see here. Under military control, the truck is there. We see women behaving in a very sopan santun way, very polite, demure way. And this is contained in what some call the new religion of the New Order, the Panchasila Sakti monument, in which history is rewritten. All the independent women's organizations have been defeated. So if you talk about oppression, then this is, I think, the deepest moment of humiliation of women when the independent women's movement was destroyed and history was rewritten by Suharto in not only official history books but also in films, in books, and of course in the whole ideology of the country. And I mean, I studied this period very well. And what I saw particularly was how, for instance, a formerly independent organization of police officers, Bayangkari, became an organization of wives of male police officers, totally under the control of the male hierarchy. And this is what happened. And what we also saw, of course, is that leftist politics, all kinds of progressive, socialist-oriented politics, became associated with sexual perversion. And that happened through the sexual slander, fitnah seksual, of Gerwani. Gerwani was, at the time, in 65, the third largest women's organization in the world, after the organizations in China and in Russia. It had between, my guess is 1.5, they themselves had 3 million members. They were highly active. They were almost in all villages. And they were very active in the Pemberantasan Buta Huruf illiteracy movement. They went out to the villages on their free Sundays, particularly women teachers were members of Gerwani. They had the policy, of course, of turun ke bawah. They went to the villages, to the poor kampongs. They asked, what do you need? What do you want? What can we do for you? Those kinds of issues. Barefoot sometimes. They were very strongly against polygyny. if male communist leaders thought, I'm so successful now, I want another wife, right? Which is which is a common attitude of successful men. They were fired by Germany, so they were very much against polygyny, and of course they demanded a role for women. They were slandered by Suharto. If you look at this picture here, you see two groups of women. On the right side, you see women supposedly dancing the Tarian Bunga Harum, right? The fragrant women's dance, an erotic dance in which they were said to have seduced the generals who were abducted and killed on that field where they were supposedly dancing. Actually, in literature, it said they were dancing nakedly. This is, of course, a total lie. It's total nonsense. There were not 13-year-old girls dancing nakedly in the middle of the night, seducing and then castrating generals. This is one of the most successful and most flagrant lies in Indonesian history. And if you look at the left side, we see two persons arguing. One is apparently a Gerwani woman. Look at how she is very defiant, challenging a man who's also very arrogant and ugly, very Jelek Skali, yeah? That's that man. And look at how her breasts are exposed. This is not the way in which women were dressed if we looked at that picture of Sukarno, right? So this is the propaganda, and unfortunately this propaganda is still around in Indonesia, right? I sometimes get a script sheet, PhD script sheet, in which they say, well, yes, but Gerwani was actually an illegal organization, they say, which is not true. Gerwani was prohibited in 1966, and then nobody joined, had already fled or was dead. So they were never members of an illegal organization. They were members of a fully legal, very progressive, and very well-known and established women's organization, collaborating with other women's organizations when there were national disasters and fighting against the issues that they found important. So then we saw after that organizations like PKK and Dharma Wanita coming up. And if we look at the ideology of the Dharma Wanita, the Pancha Dharma Wanita, the 5 rules of Dharma Wanita, we see, well, this is in Indonesian, so I have to translate. First of all, women's role as wives, so not as women, but as wives. They always have to support their husbands. I never see husbands supporting women as an ideology, their wives. So it is women who have to support their wives, which particularly means that if there are male organizations, then they have to support them and cook for the men, of course. Then they are housewives. They have to look after the household. So men can rest when they come home. Women, when they come home, have to do the household. Then they have to look after the children and produce them, of course. And then they have to do search for income, which is here called nafkah tambahan, dus additional income. So the man is the male. The man is the breadwinner, and women can do a little thing on the side to add to that household. This is, of course, denying the enormously important role of women farmers, women nelayan, as I think you just heard in the previous presentation, women bureaucrats, women teachers, all the women who are working full-time, very hard, and who are the main income earners. And then only in the 5th place, they are citizens, right? Now, this is the ideology of the new order. Well, Reformasi put an end to that, at least for the moment. And I think we have the resurgence of the women's movement again, as you can see, and particularly the women of SIP did a great thing. SIP, Suara Ibu Peduli, the voice of concerned housewives. Actually, they were not housewives. They were very well-heeled feminists who posed as mothers, who could not, because there was an economic crisis at the time, and these mothers could not find milk for their children. There was a shortage of milk. So they challenged Bapa Pembangunan, father of development, Bapa Suharto, and they said, what kind of a father are you if you can't even provide milk for our children, right? This was, I think, a wonderful, very successful. Afterwards, students came and took over. In history books now you see that Suharto was taken down by students, but the role of SIP has been ignored in history writing. This is very unfortunate because I think they were really the motor behind it. Then you see the first women's independent women's organization again coming up, KPI, Coalitie Perempuan Indonesia, a coalition of Indonesian women, and they demanded, they came up in their out of the demonstrations. Here you see a picture of the women's demonstration in '98, and they say Coalitie Perempuan Indonesia untuk keadilan and democracy on for equality and justice and democracy. Turunkan Suharto. So they were fighting for the abolition of Suharto to step down. They were very important in this movement. Unfortunately, the establishment and the military reacted violently with the mass rapes of particularly Chinese women, and with the abduction and murder of student activists, for which present President Prabowo has never given a sufficient explanation yet. He says everyone that I abducted has been returned, but there were still 13 whose fate we don't know. And I think my guess is that Prabowo does know where they are or where they have been buried. And I think we should all demand that they're like what the Kami-san does, the meetings of the mothers, that their fate becomes known. And about 1,000 people were burned alive by unidentified activists. Okay, so what we see is KPI, we see APIK, we see Coalitie Perempuan, we see lots of Komnas Perempuan also, lots of women's organizations coming up, Solidaritas Perempuan, lots of organizations. And we also see women moving up in solidarity with organizations that are fighting against ecological destruction. Here we see photographs of prominent women activists like Ibu Dolo Rosa and of course Ibu Nur Syahbani, who are helping and supporting the Kartini Kendeng movement in Central Java. But we also see the old split coming up again with traditional extremist ideology muncul lagi, and who propagate the keluarga sakinah, the harmonious family. And this is built on an ideal of peace, harmony, and prosperity. That is the wording of this ideology of keluarga sakinah, and even the women's department is propagating this. But actually, this ideology is based on men's leadership and women's obedience, according to the Kodrat Wanita, and the effect is self-surveillance, right? Women have to be a good Muslim woman, what Bourdieu calls, of course, the effects of symbolic power. She has to be dressed, if we see in the picture, totally un-Indonesian, I would say, with her face covered and under the control of men. Polygyny is accepted again under this ideology, and a very prominent organization, AILA, Aliansi Perempuan untuk Keadilan, Family Love Alliance, we call it in English, is propagating this ideology of women's obedience. So it's a re-establishment of women's obedience under a very conservative ideology, and also they're very homophobic.
Yeah, Professor Saskia, 5 minutes left for your presentation.
I should start. I'm finishing now.
Okay.
Under the present riots, we see again women being active, and now we have the tuntutan 17/8, and in fact the Manifesto untuk Perubahan Struktural Legislatif dan Eksekutif. This is the new coalition, Aliansi Perempuan Indonesia, API, which is fighting for moral integrity. Here we have Kartini again coming up, Pancasila, dialogue. We have to follow the SDGs, protection of the environment, and I think this is the resurgence now at present, following the recent riots end of July, and I think we have hope again that with this renewal of the women's movement, we can fight against women's oppression and the democratic backsliding that we have seen in the past few years since Jokowi's second term in power. Thank you so much.